honorable members of council, Chief of Staff for Mayor Carney, Saran Cave, Chief of Staff Simmons, Deputy Chief of Staff Mergler, department heads, Office of Management and Budget, and members of the public. Today is Wednesday, April 2nd, and I would like to call to order the Finance Committee meeting at this time. This evening, there are two budget hearings scheduled, the Mayor's Office, followed by City Council. I first would like to start by recognizing members of the Finance Committee that are in attendance this evening by doing a roll call. Council members Darby, Council member Hackett,
Here.
Council member Oliver, Council member Bracy, Council member Spadola,
Present.
President Congo.
Here.
I would also like to recognize any other council members that are present in the room or on Zoom. Council members Owens, Cabrera, Willard,
Present.
Johnson,
Here.
Field, and McCoy.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Carney presented a proposed budget to council on March 20th. The budget as proposed includes the following: a 0 property tax rate increase, a 6.5% water sewer rate increase, along with 6% storm water rate increase, a $2.5 million transfer from the Tax Stabilization Fund to Neighborhood Stabilization to fund the following: $500,000 for the Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank, $2 million for the Home Repair Program, and $0 used from the fund balance. The proposed general fund budget totaled $201 million, up $7.6 million, and the proposed water sewer fund budget totals $95 million, up $5.2 million. And the proposed capital budget totaled $199 million. The proposed general fund budget, as presented, has a budgeted surplus of $2.8 million and factors two main items that will warrant much discussion during these proceedings. One, $4 million for the EMS ambulance service, which will add 30 new EMS positions, 1 new civilian position, and other relevant costs. Secondly, the property tax reassessment. This is a result of a court mandate that's within the purview of the Newcastle County, who authorized Tyler Technologies to perform a property tax reassessment based on market rate value, which is revenue neutral. This may cause an increase in some residential customers' property taxes, and there may be a shift with more commercial properties paying lower property taxes, unfortunately. I look forward to working with the mayor and my colleagues to learn more on the plans for how the mayor intends to establish a fund or to offer some financial assistance. I would like to acknowledge Councilmember McCoy, Councilmember Field, and Councilmember Bracy. The mayor has shared his vision for the intended planned use of FY2026 proposed budgetary funds. Now it is council's fiduciary responsibility to review the budget, have budget hearings with the various departments to get a complete plan on the intended use of these budgetary funds, and then to have negotiations with the administration on any changes that may be warranted to this proposed budget. By charter, council must adopt a balanced budget, and it shall be the duty of the council at least 30 days before the end of this fiscal year to adopt the annual operating ordinance for the next fiscal year. Council has shared its priorities with the mayor, which are inclusive of a number of topics that I would like to share briefly. Under public safety, a police accountability review board, a recruitment and retention officer for Wilmington Fire Department, and for partners and care. The neighborhood stabilization, funding for the home repair program for affordable housing and revitalization, and the property tax reassessment inequities. Also, under community, the citywide beautification for each district and the Juneteenth celebration. Under education, we have the HBCU funding specifically for the Wilmington residents only, as well as our Office of Education Advocacy. Economic development, we want to also include the Small Minority Business Program once again. And for financial stability, the Water Assistance Program. Also, we want to include our parks because we know we have a number of parks that need to be revitalized. So this is to name a few. Also, ensuring that council's legislative mandates are adequately funded. I would like to acknowledge our President Congo in the room. So before I turn it over to Mr. Cade for opening remarks, I would like to inform everyone that public comments will be made at the end of each department's budget hearing, and that we look forward to having participation from the public. Public comments is limited to 3 minutes. If there is any follow-up information during any of the budget hearings, Ms. Bassnight will track and follow up on those requests. The budget hearings are limited due to time constraints. I kindly ask if all can be mindful and respectful of time. All budget questions should be of fiscal budgetary matter only and will be limited based upon time limitations. I ask that if my colleagues have any questions, please raise your hand. It is intended for each department to present, then questions will be slated afterwards. Mr. Cade, I now turn it over to you for opening comments and remarks, then followed by a financial overview by Mr. Rob Winkler, OMB Deputy Director, then followed by an overview with Mr. Cade and Ms. Mergler, as well as for a question and answer session with council, inclusive of Mr. Patrick and Mrs. Betts. This hearing is tentatively stated for 90 minutes. I would like to acknowledge Councilmember Oliver, and I would like to turn it over to you at this time, Mr. Cade.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Good evening, Chairwoman Harley, Vice Chair Bracy, President Congo, members of the Finance Committee, and all other members of Council are here with us this evening. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of our department heads, and the mayor's leadership team, specifically OMB. Crafting a responsible and forward-thinking budget is no small task, especially in the midst of a transition, but they have definitely risen to the challenge. This fiscal year 2026 budget is built on 2 fundamental principles: fiscal responsibility and responsive governance. Striking that balance is never easy, but it is essential. Madam Chair, this budget reflects a philosophy of good and effective government, one that ensures Wilmington delivers the services our residents expect and deserve while maintaining financial stability. While Wilmington's best days are ahead of us, our government faces real challenges. The cost of providing these vital services continue to rise, but our revenues are not keeping pace. Despite this, we remain committed to making strategic investments that continue to move our city forward. This proposal funds key priorities outlined in the mayor's transition plan, shaped with input from the community and our partners. It includes bringing ambulance service in-house under the fire department to enhance emergency response, strengthening the Department of Parks and Recreation, ensuring our youth have access to high-quality spaces and programs, establishing a new community engagement team to deepen collaboration with civic associations and neighborhood planning councils, investing $2.5 million in neighborhood stabilization because every Wilmington community deserves to thrive. And importantly, we accomplish all of this while maintaining a revenue-neutral approach that safeguards both residents and businesses from paying more in taxes than is necessary. In the days ahead, you'll hear the detailed numbers from our Office of Management and Budget, our various departments and offices, but at its core, this budget is about balance, about meeting today's needs while securing Wilmington's future. We look forward to working closely with the Finance Committee and the full City Council as we move through this process. Together, we can assure Wilmington remains a great place for residents and businesses to prosper together. Thank you for your time, and I'll turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay. So I'm going to ask Mr. Winkler to have the floor.
All right, good afternoon, Chairwoman Harmon. Good afternoon, members of council. If we could get the next slide. All right, thank you. All right, so the proposed mayor's office budget for FY 2026 is $7.4 million, which is up $276,000 or 3.9% compared to the FY 25 budget. Now, note that the budget you're seeing here is exclusive of the Office of Economic Development, since that'll be discussed in a separate hearing on April 21st. Personal services are up $271,000 or 8.1%, and material supplies and equipment, or MS&E, is down $60,000 or 2.9% compared to the FY25 budget. And total staffing across all funds is 26 FTEs, up by 1 from FY25. All right, next slide. Okay, good. Next slide, please. There we are. Thank you. All right, so let's take a look here at the major funding changes for FY26, starting with personal services. So as you saw on that previous slide, compared to FY25, total FTEs are up by a net 1. So first, what drives that is there were multiple additions and deletions as part of a mid-FY 2025 transition budget amendment. And that resulted in a net addition of 2 FTEs at an additional salaries and benefits costs of $284,000. Now, beyond that, as part of a mid-year FY25 compensation and classification study realignment, 4 positions were upgraded at a total cost of nearly $22,000. And in the FY 2026 budget, there were also several changes beyond these. So first, an emergency management planner position was added at a total cost of nearly $126,000, which was split equally between the general fund and the special funds. And 2 positions, an executive assistant to the mayor and a director of community engagement, were deleted for a combined savings of $278,000. And finally, $129,000 was added to temporary salaries to fund a new special assistant for community engagement and an admin assistant. All right, so moving to MS&E, which is down nearly $60,000 in net. The largest change to MS&E is the addition of $225,000 in cultural affairs miscellaneous projects. This is to provide expanded support for community programming and events, and this amount more accurately reflects the costs of these events, and it avoids the need for any year-end contingency fund transfers. Now, this increase was more than fully offset by several decreases. First, one-time transition cost funding was eliminated for a savings of $75,000, and second, advertising was reduced by $195,000, since the city will no longer be funding the It's Time campaign. And finally, the $200,000 that's been budgeted for HBCU was moved from the Cultural Affairs Consultants line to the Admin Grants to Agencies line. and there's no net increase or decrease that's associated with this. All right, so those are the main mayor's office changes for FY26. And if you have any questions, specifically related to the budget, I'm happy to take them now. Otherwise, return the floor to you.
Okay, all right, so we're going to move. Thank you both for sharing. So we're going to move right into our questions. So our first question is, number one, considering the recent court-mandated property tax assessment that has been completed for Newcastle County that was done by Tyler Technologies, please share any citywide budgetary or fiscal plans to provide any type of financial assistance if warranted due to various financial circumstances.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harley. Stephanie Mergler, Deputy Chief of Staff. I will be handling these questions. Our first and foremost plan is to continue to work with the county to review the accuracy of the overall assessment and determine if they are able to make any systemic adjustments. That will especially inform any tax assistance solution that we present. We, as certain of our council members know, we have a draft plan that we are considering. It's not quite ready to present tonight, but we will continue to keep council informed along the way.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to move right on to question number 2. With the evolving changes regarding federal grant funding, while understanding possible legal challenges, can you please discuss if any potential budgetary or fiscal contingencies for this upcoming budget, considering the large amount of grants, low interest loans, etc., that the city is heavily dependent on for the day-to-day operations of the city, as well as capital funds? So please explain why or why not under A and B.
Sure.
Thank you.
So I think the most important thing to remember is there are very few sources of funding that can match federal funding levels. I mean, it's such an incredibly large source of funds that simply would be very difficult to replace. So in this answer, we focus on, well, what can we do? One, if we are looking at the budgetary impact, everything in budgeting is about trade-offs. So the first thing would have to be either when it comes to the loss of federal funds or when it comes to the potential impact of, losing the tax-exempt status for municipal bonds, we would simply kind of think about what we could do within the budget to minimize that impact. So maybe you're choosing one priority over another. You're thinking about how you can increase revenues just to maintain the fiscal stability. So the first thing we would do is look at our expenses, see where we could cut, where we could focus on to maintain our priorities and figure out what exactly is a priority. As far as capital planning goes, so that is mainly in relation to the taxable municipal bonds. That may impact our planning for when we go to the bond market, how we assess the timing and scale of our capital projects, since that would, as I'll cover in a couple of slides, that would impact our financing costs. Thirdly, we are part of a small state, which fortunately we have a very good relationship with our federal delegation, and we know that they are fighting constantly on our behalf, as well as AG Jennings. So we would continue those advocacy efforts. They will continue to advocate on our behalf. We would continue our conversations with the state and the county and see where we could fill gaps. Third and fourth is just try and find alternative financing strategies, maybe public-private partnerships for capital programs. Right now we're about to receive a grant from the 76ers for a basketball court in Eastlake Park. We can continue to try and find those opportunities to try and mitigate the amount of money that we're applying for through capital funds. But again, those alternative sources of funding are limited, and many of them might also be dependent on federal funds. So this is going to definitely be a challenge.
Okay, all right. So we're going to move right into question 2A. And basically, notwithstanding the 10 million allocated as part of the current FY25 budget for the bridge project, can you share the impact, if any, now that federal funding for 5 million may be on the chopping block?
Certainly. So we are definitely aware of the congressionally directed spending, the fact that that was not included in the federal budget this year. However, so far we do not have any knowledge of that actually impacting the bridge project. However, what I can say is that per our agreement with the community education building, the city's $10 million contribution will only be released to them if the project is actually going forward. So they do not, that money is currently still in our coffers, and it will remain so if the project does not go forward.
That's good news. Okay, we're going to move right into 2B. Share the impact of the federal government changing the tax exempt status on municipal bonds.
Absolutely. So we analyzed some guidance from the Government Finance Officers Association, which helpfully did some research on this already. We kind of looked at our previous experience on this topic and came up with the following findings. If our municipal bonds lose their tax exempt status, that is expected to increase our borrowing rate by 2 percentage points. So essentially, our interest rate would go up by about 2 percentage points. We typically issue about 25 million in bonds in every issuance. So that would be about an additional $350,000 per bond issuance. Over a 20-year period, that would lead to about 70 million additional in debt service costs.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to move right along to our question number 3. Council shared its FY26 budget priorities with the administration. Can you please elaborate on how the mayor's office proposed budget is aligned with some of the following priorities and share any sustainability efforts around community, education, public safety, and the 2 areas around public safety, accountability, and the CPSI?
Certainly. Starting with community, as I'm sure many of you know, we still have a significant amount of MPC funding left in the capital budget. We think that that would be a great opportunity to work with our MPCs to fulfill beautification requests throughout the year, since that is actually a much larger pot of money than we would be able to put into the operating budget. For the couple of council districts who have already expended their MPC funding, we will work to find that money. We will find that money within our existing budget to ensure that we're able to continue to do the priority projects in those districts. Mm-hmm. We also wanted to highlight money that we did put into the budget that we also think falls under the beautification umbrella. Mm-hmm. We did add 2.5 million into the neighborhood stabilization fund, part of which will be used for a pilot program for tree trimming and alleyway cleanup and maintenance. We also increased our clean team program by $100,000 to a new total of $900,000 and hope to expand it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we want to move to education?
Certainly. So $200,000 has been included in the operating budget for the HBCU, and we will be happy to stipulate that $100,000 is set aside specifically for city youth.
Okay.
And next, public safety. Mm-hmm. Yes, the $30,000 has been included in the Wilmington Police Department budget for the Police Accountability Board.
Okay.
In addition, the CPSI is currently funded with ARPA funds through the end of 2026. We are also working to identify some non-federal sources of funding that could be used to expand the CPSI It would be difficult to do without federal funding, given the cost of the program, which is currently about $1 million for 2 pilot areas.
Okay. Great. Thank you for those answers for 3. We're going to move right on to question number 4. Can you discuss any current vacant positions, a specified duration of the vacancy, the time frame for filling the position, and if position generates revenue, and if so, estimated amount?
Certainly. We currently have 1 vacant position, which is the Director of Communications. That has been vacant since January during the transition, but we are working to fill it ASAP. The position does not generate revenue.
Okay. Okay, so basically, you don't have any positions that are open, that needs to be filled, that generate revenue?
Correct.
Okay. And, all right, thank you. So we're going to move on to question number 4. Let's see here. We just finished 4. We're going to move to 5. Okay, question number 5. Discuss any proposed changes to positions regarding new, deleted, upgraded, realignment, transition, downgrade, title change, or salary change. And share any organization staffing changes to build up constituent services and the services for 311 under the 3 bullets under question A.
Certainly. So starting with changes to positions, we did increase positions in the department by 2 full-time equivalents during the recent mid-year budget amendment. However, after getting in and kind of acclimating and also reviewing the citywide budget, we have decided to eliminate 2 of those positions. So we will be eliminating the Director of Community Engagement and the Executive Assistant to the Mayor positions. That will save about $278,000. So as far as organizational or staffing changes to build up constituent services and 311. So we added into constituent services 1 existing and 1 new special assistant for community engagement position. And we have also created a new constituent services officer position. That was done during the mid-year budget amendment. So we have taken the office from 3 FTEs to 6. We have also included $20,000 in this year's budget for a Spanish-speaking temporary employee. That is a continuation from this year. We currently have a Spanish-speaking temp in our office. So just to give a sense of how the office will now be structured, our community engagement personnel, we think of them as being proactive. So we want them out there in the community, talking to people, gathering information on what's working, what isn't working, and bringing it back to us. And then constituent services will do exactly what they do best and solve problems. So they will take everything that they get back from community engagement and then work on getting back to constituents, solving the problems, following up on issues in 311. So there was a lot of discussion about changing structure of 311, especially during the transition. If we do anything with 311, we want to make sure that we take our time and really do it right. It's a huge program, it's public-facing, and we want to make sure that everything we do is really done thoughtfully and carefully. So we will be considering that over the next 6 months to a year, and we will definitely keep you posted as we go along and seek feedback as we go.
Okay.
So we were asked to specify the average daily calls to 311 and our average response time. So in February, we received, this most recent month of February, we received exactly an average of 198 calls per day. In January, that average was 245 calls per day. You'll see that there was a spike in March of last year. That was due to the home repair lottery that we ran in March.
Okay.
So our average case age in February of 2025, use case age rather than response time because it ensures that we're also including cases that are still open. If I only gave you response times or closure times, then we'd only be getting the ones that we're doing really well on. So our average case age ranges from 1.8 days or 1.4 days in finance, 1.8 days in L&I, all the way up to 122 days in public works. Public works, that number is thrown off quite a bit by sidewalk requests, some of which are years old.
I'm sorry, by what request?
Sidewalk repair
Okay.
requests. As you know, those are funding and resource dependent. If you remove sidewalk cases, that the average case age for public works goes down to about 85 days.
Okay. Okay. So we want to move to.
I'm
five.
going to invite Willie Patrick to come up for the next couple of questions.
Okay. Yes. You can introduce yourself.
I am Willie Patrick. I'm the Director of Emergency Management.
Okay, so the question here is with the new emergency management planner position, can you share if this position will interact with the community, particularly with flooding issues, climate change, and sea level rise?
So yes, and just let me add that, so this is answering some of the questions that council had in previous budget hearings about the ability for emergency management to address the needs of the community. And I thank the administration for allowing us to bring on another position. So yes, it does support the Office of Emergency Management outreach and preparedness, community preparedness initiatives, which does include the hazards such as flooding, climate change, and sea level rise. The current position was hired back in November at a limited services level, and we're looking to increase that position to a full-time position with the current fiscal year 26 budget. During that time, we've held many community events where we've attended or facilitated some of the events, and we've been able to touch the community and bring in about 125, at least 125 residents in these various positions. And we're on pace now to really increase that significantly this year.
Okay. All right, so I think I'm going to be turning it back over to Ms. Merkler.
Absolutely.
Okay, for 5A, number 3, to share about the additional $129,000 budgeted for your temps. Thank you.
Certainly. So one of our LSE positions will be a special assistant for community engagement who will be focused specifically on education initiatives. The other will be an administrative assistant who will provide part-time support to the chief of staff and the department in general.
Okay, so we currently have a special assistant right now for community engagement.
We have two. We have two full-time special assistant for community engagement positions. This one is an additional part-time position.
Part-time, okay, all right. And I think the last one, did you already go over that?
Yes, that's the administrative assistant who will provide part-time support to the chief of staff and to the department in general.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, we're going to move right on to question number 6. Can you discuss the planned use of $515,000 budgeted for grants to agencies up to $200,000 over prior year's budget, excluding OED, specify the reoccurring large grants, and share the process for how organizations can submit for the large grants.
Absolutely. So the $200,000 increase is simply due to moving the money for HBCU Week Foundation from consultants to grants to agencies, where we determined that we felt like it belonged better. So it looks like an increase, but it is it's flat overall because it was located in a different account line in previous years. The other grants, Wilmington Hope Commission, WEDCO, Wilmington Library, WECAC, Wilmington Jaycees, each one of those is recurring. These are all at the same level we requested in previous years through the budget. And grant requests can be made to the mayor's office, just submitted in writing.
Okay. All right. We're going to move right on to question number 7. Can you please discuss the plan used for $475,000 budgeted in the miscellaneous project account line in the Cultural Arts Division, which is up $225,000? Please specify any fees charged and or revenues collected for annual festivities such as the Clifford Brown Jazz Fest, July 4th celebration, Juneteenth, etc., and specify any sponsorships.
Certainly. And I will have to apologize. Ms. Tina Betts was not able to join us tonight. I do lack her deep knowledge on this subject, but I will respond, and then we can get back with any questions that you have.
Okay.
So the additional $225,000 in this budget line supports expanded programming, rising artist fees, and increased production costs related to community and cultural events. Approximately $324,000 of the total is earmarked for expanded community programming at the Urban Artist Exchange and the broader community. This will include a weekly summer concert series featuring local and regional artists, a launch of the main gallery, which is a newly activated art exhibition space, a multi-day dance festival to highlight culturally diverse dance traditions, and adding community engagement activities and performances to the Wilmington Black Storytelling Residency and the Boise Lowry Living Jazz Residency. Next slide, please. So continuing the answer of where the increase came from, increased production costs. We saw increased production costs across all events. Contributing to that was union labor costs, equipment rental costs, the cost of stage coverings, flooring, soundproofing, and barricades, and travel and lodging for regional and national performers. In addition, we've seen rising artist fees. Fees have increased 15 to 30% for high caliber artists and ensembles. And community-focused artists and teaching artists are also receiving more competitive compensation. Looking forward to the 2026 Juneteenth celebration, we are projecting an increase in costs to enhance programming, cultural authenticity, and audience experience. This includes expanded youth engagement, wellness programming, and higher artist and production costs.
Okay.
Next slide, please. Okay. So in regard to sponsorship and vendor income, corporate sponsorships have declined in recent years due to shifting priorities at the corporate level, changes in leadership at key companies, many of which are now based outside of Wilmington. In addition, we're seeing increased competition from other city departments and initiatives that use CityFest as a pass-through for grant requests, which unfortunately dilutes the organization's capacity to secure sponsorships solely for cultural programming. If you're wondering what other type of grant requests those are, it includes, say, where we request money from Bank of America and other companies for the youth career development programming that we do in the summer. We also received the 76ers East Lake grant through CityFest, so that's the sort of competition that you see through CityFest. Vendor fees and merchandise sales provide a modest but steady revenue stream. They are not substantial enough to significantly offset program costs.
Okay. All right. So that covers cultural arts. So we're going to move right into question number 8. Can you please share the planned use for the $324,000 budgeted for consultants and excluding OED? Can you specify vendor names, length of contracts, and purpose, and specify, if any, DBEs?
Certainly. Starting with the Mayor's Office Admin Division, which contains about $101,000 worth of the consulting cost. Starting with our lobbyist, Maven Strategies. That is an annual contract. They represent the city's interests at the state legislature, and that costs about $46,000. They are not a DBE. The other two are, that money is in there essentially to give us latitude to hire consultants throughout the year. We're not entirely sure who they will be yet.
Okay.
And the rest of these are cultural affairs. So just a quick note on DBEs overall for cultural affairs. The Office of Cultural Affairs is committed to supporting minority-owned and operated small businesses. The annual contracts with Flux Creative Consultants, Tierra Spencer, and Tahira exemplify this commitment, as all are recognized minority-owned enterprises. For other consulting needs, the office actively seeks to engage DBEs, ensuring that procurement practices promote diversity and inclusion within the cultural programming sector. And it can now provide vendor details for each. Flux Creative Consultants, that comes at a cost of $42,000. They provide a range of services, including event production, marketing, community engagement. That is an annual contract subject to renewal. And they are a minority-owned small business. Okay. Next slide. Tierra Spencer, that is $30,000. They serve as the program coordinator for Urban Artist Exchange and direct the Arts Work Youth Apprenticeship Program. That is an annual contract with a potential for renewal, and they are a minority-owned small business. Tahira, that comes at a cost of $53,660. They lead the Wilmington Black Storytelling Residency, focusing on preserving and promoting African and African American storytelling traditions through workshops and performances. This agreement is structured around the residency schedule, typically annual with specific deliverables, and they are a minority-owned small business.
Okay.
Cultural Affairs also engages additional consultants. They are engaged on a case-by-case basis to provide specialized professional services that are essential for program execution. For example, stage managers are hired for the UAE concert series to ensure seamless event operations. These contracts are program-specific, varying in duration based on the scope and timeline of the event or program. Efforts, as we stated, are made to include DBEs wherever possible, though the status may vary depending on the specific type of consultant engaged.
Okay.
Okay. Continuing on the same answer, in addition to our current consultant engagements, we are actively negotiating with minority-operated small businesses to curate and program the main gallery at the Urban Artist Exchange. The main gallery will offer local visual artists regular exhibition opportunities and participation in Wilmington's Art Loop, and further the Office of Cultural Affairs' commitment to supporting diverse minority-owned businesses within Wilmington's arts community. The budget covers some of the Clifford Brown Jazz Festival expenses, explicitly funding the travel and accommodations for the artists that travel, and for the artists that travel with. For the artists, we'll live with that. This allocation ensures that the festival can attract and host high-caliber performers and maintain its reputation as the largest free jazz festival on the East Coast.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for covering that in the absence of Ms. Betts.
Certainly.
Okay. So we are going to move right along to question number 9. With the $195,000 reduction in advertising for removal of the It's Time campaign, can you please share the continued marketing and advertising strategies for promoting the city of Wilmington and the correlating budgetary costs?
Certainly. Well, I think as we all know, $200,000 is quite a bit in our budget. The new administration wants to make sure that we're carefully evaluating long-term marketing strategies before committing to a specific program or approach. So this is another one where we'll really be taking our time, doing our research, and trying to ensure that we are selecting the absolute best option. In the meantime, we will continue to budget $45,000 for digital, radio, and print advertising, and most importantly, we'll continue to work with WITN and DETV to advertise initiatives throughout the year.
Okay. All right. We're going to move right on to question number 10. Can you please discuss the plan used for $166,000 budgeted in the miscellaneous services account line and specify the number of graffiti removals done in the last 2 fiscal years?
Certainly. So that is broken out as follows. $15,000 is in the mayor's office admin budget. That is for plant service, sympathy, and get well expressions, holiday trees. $114,000 is in the Office of Emergency Management. That is for our building maintenance contract for the Emergency Operations Center. $6,000 falls in cultural affairs. $4,500 of that is for unanticipated program or event costs, including weather or venue changes. And $1,500 will go towards staff professional development workshops and trainings. And then finally, $30,000 is in constituent services for citywide graffiti removal. And then, so on the next slide, please. So graffiti removal has been low over the past 2 years. Part of that is that we simply don't receive a lot of graffiti requests through 311, but that of course means that it's incumbent on our residents to tell us when they see graffiti. And how many of us pass graffiti every day and don't necessarily call the city and report it? Right. What we need to do is go out there and proactively identify it so we can remove it. And this is something that our Constituent Services Office has been asking us for the capacity to do. This is something that they want to do. So we are excited now that we have an additional Constituent Services Officer and our community engagement team that we can actually get out there and start identifying the graffiti. You can see in the 2025 year-to-date number, we already have an increase. Now that we have 3 people, 5 people technically, 6 people in the office. We have, but especially an additional constituent services officer. They have gone out, they have searched for it, they have proactively identified it, and they are submitting it for removal. And so we have already seen an increase, and we hope to see an increase next year as well.
That's great. That is really great because I do think that's what is needed to be proactive because I do believe a number of people in the community just do not know who to call.
Absolutely.
So that's a great upgrade. So thank you. All right, we're going to go to question number 11. For seniors, can you please share the budgetary allocations set aside to address some of their needs? For an example, fans, the Thanksgiving ball, etc.
So $34,000 has been allocated for the senior Thanksgiving ball, about $2,000 for materials for the senior fan drive, and again, we will be funding $2 million in the neighborhood stabilization fund, which can go toward the senior home repair lottery, the alleyway cleanup and repair pilot program, and assistance with trees on private property.
Okay. Excuse me for a couple seconds.
Certainly.
Okay. We're going to go to question number 12. Let's see. It's over here. Okay. All right, number 12, all departments provide or FY 2026 proposed organizational chart with the total number of employees regarding permanent, temporary, contract, and/or vacancies. And if there are multiple divisions, please ensure there are sub-org charts that enumerate all the above. Okay.
So we have Mayor's Office Admin. This includes the proposed staffing changes and the additions to constituent services. On the next slide, we have Cultural Affairs, followed by the Office of Management and Budget on the next slide, and then followed by Emergency Management on the final slide, which shows the addition of the new Emergency Management Planner.
Okay.
And then per council's request, we have included the headshots for our leadership.
Nice pictures.
Thank you.
Nice pictures. Okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to go to our last question. Number 13, while realizing there is a delay when the city goes to the bond market, if you could share some potential planned use or possible projects intended for the 5% of arts capital projects for $400,000.
Absolutely. As you acknowledge, access to that $400,000 will depend on the timing of our bond issuance. So currently, no specific projects have been identified. However, potential uses may include the following. Public art at capital project sites, which may include murals, sculptures, or other artistic features incorporated into our infrastructure, our parks, and our facilities. Enhancements at the Urban Artist Exchange, which can include artistic signage, sculptural seating, or installations that support our ongoing development. Local artist commissions, so projects that celebrate Wilmington's neighborhoods and cultural identity. Cultural and historic works, art that honors specific people, places, or events in Wilmington's history. And then maintenance of existing public art. So conservation of city-owned artworks to preserve their quality and visibility. So the Mayor's Office of Cultural Affairs will create a process to evaluate these project ideas. Before a process is implemented, it will need to be reviewed by our city attorneys, the administration team, and other relevant departments. Once the projects are selected, recommendations will be submitted to the administration for approval before any committees are formed to carry out the projects. A similar collaborative approach was used in the development of Unwavering Courage in the Pursuit of Freedom, a public sculpture honoring Harriet Tubman and Thomas Garrett. This project was guided by an advisory committee that included historians, artists, community leaders, and cultural advocates, ensuring diverse perspectives that focused on historical accuracy, community representation, and artistic integrity. We plan to model future project teams after this successful example of inclusive, community-centered collaboration.
All right. Well, thank you very much for covering all of these questions and providing the answers. So now we're getting ready to open it up to find out if there are any questions from the council members. But before I go to the council members, I want to acknowledge Councilmember Cabrera and Councilmember Owens. Okay, any council members, any questions from the council members? Councilmember Spadola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everybody. One comment and then one question. When the 311 overhaul is underway, not when it goes into effect, but when it's underway, you already mentioned engaging council. I really applaud that and ask you to, continue the collaboration that this administration has shown since they've taken hold. Because I think a lot of council members have a lot of interaction with 311, positive and a lot of negative as well from constituents dealing with it. We have a lot to offer there. And so please engage with council on that. Secondly, with the $100,000 increase for the clean teams, I think it's great. Trash is it's an issue throughout the city, and any way we can get a hand, tackle it, it's great. My one concern with the clean teams in the past was they were not overly responsive to when I would get a complaint about trash and try to get them to redirect their resources, or whether it be a one-off or ideally a sustained approach to combating the trash. Specifically, I'm talking about the area 202 leaving the city. Right now, I'm getting a complaint about trash down Lovering Avenue, right by the park there. Broadly speaking, though, and I know I'm just throwing this out there, Ms. Merzler, and we were speaking about it briefly, but can you comment on if you are open to having more of a responsive clean teams approach where they're focused on responding to issues that arise, not just a set pattern?
Certainly. I can't guarantee anything, given that that is a contract we have with multiple community organizations. So it will depend on their willingness to collaborate on that, and their ability to expand into different areas, the comfort level of our residents who are part of the program with entering certain areas. But we are absolutely willing to have the conversation and see what we can do.
Thank you. And I think what would be great, if I could, Madam Chair,
Sure.
as you're developing the blueprint for where they're going, engaging with council again. I think a lot of issues could be prevented just by engaging with council, because I've never seen the blueprint of where they actually go. I see them out and about. I think they do a great job. But I think just engaging with council on where they're going, so we set it up now for success when they get out there.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to piggyback off of that. Stephanie, I know with the previous administration, one day the clean team that is, was supposed to go over to Southbridge on A and Hill Street, because I believe that they are targeted for certain communities right now. And so they were supposed to have been going over to Southbridge just one day, because there were a number of complaints about the trash on A and Hill by the old Albert School building.
Sure.
And as you know, recently our mayor was over there because of the trash. So if we could just if you could follow up with where we are with that, because there was a verbal commitment that at least one day they would go over there.
Absolutely. We'll follow up.
Thank you. Any other council members? Councilmember Cabrera, and then Councilmember Hackett.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Very thorough, and really appreciate it, where the focus is in light of, potential lost income as the federal cuts are out there. So my question is, with the Urban Artists Exchange, which I think is amazing, one of the feedbacks that I get from the community at large, and maybe now, hearing about the budget and the monies for more performances, is that the local artists want to be able to perform there and use that space. It's a community space. I love the artists that come through that Artist Exchange program, and that's an amazing program. But we have so much talent right here in the tri-state area, and even here in Wilmington, the home of Clifford Brown, that we should incorporate more of that, of course, and more multicultural, having, a Latin fiesta down there, India Fest, things like that, to really cultivate all the sectors of our community and really our diverse cultural community. And I think that's our park, that's our space, that there should be more local participation. So that's one of the things I like to see. And even right here in the building with the art loop, I've just noticed that a lot of our local artists aren't featured anymore. That's what the art loop was all about, really highlighting our own artists here. So those are things I would like to see in cultural fairs.
Understood. Absolutely. I will pass that along to Director Betts.
So Member Hackett.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to say thank you so much for the presentation and coming. Truly appreciate you. I don't know if these are questions or maybe concerns, and maybe you can get back to me later.
Sure.
The first one is I'm really worried about the property tax assessment. I know you guys said you are working on a plan. Please keep us updated on everything that moving forward, because residents is reaching right out to us, especially immediately when we talk about the different changes that can go in with that. I'm a big fan of HBCU Week. and what it does for our kids and going to college. But we sit in our community today and we ask, how do we keep our kids busy, the ones that are not going to college, that's in high school right now, middle school, and just wanted to see, like, is there anything that's going into the budget in those regards? Like, we got a lot of youth teams, like, where's the support for our kids and the activities to get them going? And then my third thing is, you talked about the bond bill. We usually go out and we get $25 million. There could be some changes, and we might be able to, we might tag on an additional $7 million. Have we looked at that from the service costs? Have we looked at that as a different possible, will we be lowering that amount, or, I guess just a different plan moving forward with that?
So I'll start at the top. One, absolutely, and I would be happy to talk, schedule some time with you to talk about reassessments. Two, I think that, one, in our budget, our temp for the special assistant for community engagement, who will be working on education initiatives, that is absolutely his focus. And he will be working with our parks department to figure out ways to engage our youth. You're going to see, I think, a lot of that when we get to the parks meeting. Thirdly, I'm not sure what you're referring to with the $7 million.
I think you said over a 20-year repayment period.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So that would be, so we would absolutely kind of have to rethink how we time our capital program, what projects we would want to include, what we wouldn't. So that would be $7 million over a 20-year period. It would be an impact of about $350 per bond issuance. So we would, if the federal government chooses to remove tax-exempt status for municipal bonds, we would absolutely have to think about maybe some alternative financing options for some of our capital projects. Look at changing their timing, maybe reducing projects, that sort of thing. So absolutely, it'll be something that we'll have to consider when we put together our capital program.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Councilmember Oliver and then Councilmember Bracy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make this one statement and two other things. I wanted to mention about the Urban Exchange. I mean, I have received some calls also regarding the Urban Exchange and some local artists. And what I had explained to most of them is that with that outdoor space, the amphitheater, Ms. Betts has, and because I attended a meeting, the Lafayette Foundation, and with that foundation, the money she receives from it, it is various stipulations. So if anyone has any questions, just email her. So it's a lot to it. It's not like the money that she receives. It's not like, you and I could just go in there and do a concert, because it's some stipulations on the grant, the funding that she receives for the outdoor space. As a matter of fact, I just saw she was, I think, in LA with them doing another outdoor space. I guess, giving her opinion, but it's the funding that she receives. Not saying that I don't think no local artist shouldn't use it. I just think maybe we should have a conversation with her. So I totally agree that, some local artists should be able to use that facility. One other additional statement is I'm glad that it is additional position in emergency management. I think President Congo and myself mentioned that about 2 years ago, and it wasn't received very well, because I don't think no one person or two people should be responsible. After Hurricane Ida, I just think things have totally changed. And I've mentioned this several times, and I don't understand why I don't get any feedback, or they say it's not necessary. We've had individuals who live over 11th Street Bridge asking for emergency exits. They would like to see where some emergency exit. And one of the remarks was that I don't think if people are trying to leave or whatever, they're not looking for emergency exits. I think that's unacceptable, especially seeing with climate change all over. Whatever you can do to help people figure out where to go, how to get there, we should be assisting them with that. Thank you. One other question.
Follow up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Madam President. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, my fault. May I have a follow-up, please?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Stephanie, the question's for you. I'm looking at question 3 around beautification. Are you stating that the NCPs, you're going to make sure you force the NCPs to spend their money on some beautifications in the certain districts, which is good.
Yes.
Okay, so the funding that's sitting there, going to force the NCPs to do some beautification, what they're supposed to
Yes,
be doing.
absolutely.
I think that's a great idea. Them, and one,
Well, I'm going to go around, come back around.
okay,
Okay, Councilmember Bracy?
thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had two questions slash comments, I guess. The first is, as it relates to your community engagement personnel, can you discuss, and this is more for the record, how those individuals will work with council? Specifically, as you know, a lot of our job is, in our role, and what we were hired to do is to be in the community and to really engage with our constituents at civic engagement, civic association meetings, et cetera. So how are we going to not duplicate efforts but complement each other? And I think it's a very important piece that you've added with these community engagement personnel hires that you've done. But how are we going to ensure, and I think you've already started that, but just so that it's on the record, that we're working together in the communities and not separately and not duplicating efforts?
Absolutely. So we have two community engagement, special assistants for community engagement. One is dedicated to the area west of 95, and the other is dedicated to the east. I think that the best way to ensure that we are coordinating and, not duplicating efforts is to communicate. And our community engagement team has been tasked with working with council, with coordinating, and so it's just going to be all about communication. But we'd be happy, I think, to just sit down with you and kind of talk about what that looks like and get some feedback and kind of work together on a plan.
Thank you. I think it's one more follow-up, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay. I appreciate that. I think it's a great addition to the mayor's office to have that direct link to the community and to be so willing to work with us on the other side, on council side. My last question is, as you, excuse me, are looking for funding to expand CPSI, have you started to identify areas of the city that would be next? So we already have it in two areas. West Center City has a need. I know there are other parts of the city that have a need. So have you started to evaluate where the expansion would take place?
Yes, I believe Deb Mason absolutely has ideas on where we would expand to, but I would absolutely welcome your feedback on that. So maybe we can have a conversation with Dr. Mason and figure out where would make sense.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. I just want to comment on both of those points that Councilmember Bracy just mentioned. I really do see the value added with the community engagement specialist, because in civic association meetings, I'm always tasked with having to listen to services that they are not always complaining about, but have concerns about. And so I will tell you, when Trinity Vicinity had their civic association and I seen Greg there, I was happy as a lark for him to be able to document what was being said and be able to get that information directly to the administration. So that was a great question, but I also want to say that it's really a added value to the council members, because, as you know, the administration is responsible for services, and you just cannot say that enough, to the community. They just don't understand that I'm there, the council person is there, they want you to handle it, and I get that. So I just want to say, yes, we can continue to be a part of that conversation to fully understand what the plans is, how they're going to be moving in the communities. And as it relates to CPSI, I do know that Dr. Mason definitely has the data, the boots on the ground to really know and fully understand, where we should be moving around next. And I'm looking forward to hear more about that, because there are other communities that could benefit, because it's definitely taken off very well, I know, over on the east side. I can't speak for North Market, but I definitely know on the east side it definitely has been a great added value. So thank you. Any other council members? Council member who haven't spoken?
No, I spoke already, but
I'm going to ask if there are any council members on the Zoom.
I think, Willa, did you have?
Have a question? Okay, Councilmember McCoy?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to make certain that because I think I stepped away for a moment. I just wanted to make certain that I got clarity about the 5% for arts. And now that where you were talking about the artist exchange, is that those were the funds that were going to be used for that? Were there any other? I just want to make certain first that that was the answer. Was that the answer?
It
The
was
5%
not.
of arts?
It was not. That was listed as a potential area where 5% art for art funds could go. But other potential areas, it could go toward public art at capital project sites. It could go toward local artist commissions, could go toward cultural and historical works, or the maintenance of existing public art. What Director Betts proposed was creating a process for evaluating project ideas that would be modeled on the process we used for the development of the piece of art entitled Unwavering Courage in the Pursuit of Freedom, which is a public sculpture at Tubman Garrett Park honoring Harriet Tubman and Thomas Garrett. So that project was guided by an advisory committee that included various stakeholders such as historians and artists and community leaders. Ms. Betts thinks that that was a really good model and would like to model future project teams off of that example.
Okay. Well, I do thank you. May I follow, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay, so the reason why I asked is, first of all, I keep forgetting now it's 5% instead of just 1%, and wanted to know whether or not a portion of that. One of the things that we did last term, which was a whole different, group administration, was that we gave opportunities for different districts to use some funding that was set to the side for potential projects. I am so glad that the administration has decided to really start moving forward and making certain that the NPCs are spending down their funds and actually doing beautification within their district throughout the city, which is great. But NPC like mine, who actually isn't quite spent down, but has spent down quite a bit, we've actually we were able to use some of those funds to our advantage. And as we are waiting for people who have much higher balances to spend down, we may be kind of stuck at a certain point while we figure this thing out. So I would love to see how, if there's any way to put a little bit of those funds to the side for different projects that we are proposed that we can be able to submit to administration stating if we can get your help.
Sure.
That was just one thing that I thought of.
No, absolutely. It looks like the 6th district has $42,000 left in the NPC fund. So once that's expended, we will absolutely work with you to find additional sources of money in the existing budget for projects that you would like to get done.
Right. Thank you. I'm sorry, and I actually had just one more question, if I can follow, Madam Chair.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. And so I just wanted to make you aware that when it comes to the clean team, the 6th district had been used previously to do other high trafficked areas. They have been called out to do so. But of course, that does sometimes take them away from those high traffic areas already in the district. And one of the things that I recall is that when you look at our map, all of my communities are actually not taken care of. I've actually had to pay out of pocket or sometimes discretionary fund to make certain that each of my communities are benefited by the clean teams. Canby Park Townhomes off of Kirkwood Highway Union, South Union, is not one of the communities that benefit that get the benefit of the clean team going through it. And not only that, so do I send my clean team there to make certain each of my communities get it. I also cleaned the crosswalk that connects both sides of South Union near the Boys and Girls Club, which was actually asked for by the 7th district. So I just think that if we look at trying to make certain that more of the high traffic areas are taken care of. We may look at putting more funds to the side because I probably shouldn't have to use either my funds or discretionary funds to make certain that all of the places get taken care of as we're listening to our constituents.
Understood.
Thank you.
That topic came up, I think, a little earlier as it relates to clean teams. And so I do think that there's an opportunity to consider putting more funds. As Councilmember Spadola mentioned it, I mentioned it. So maybe there is an opportunity for that. And of course, you know, we can have a conversation about it offline because maybe this administration is just not aware of the additional needs.
Sure.
Okay. Because we have about 10 minutes, I want to make sure we give the public the opportunity to comment. But before I go to the public, I'm going to call on Councilmember Willard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a comment and then a question. Now that, or a couple of questions, but now that the appeal period is over for individual homeowners, it's great to hear that the administration is continuing to work on a wholesale solution to make sure that all assessed values equal the market value of the property as required by state law. So thank you very much for the administration's initiative and hard work on that. It's really important. I hear a lot from residents about that issue. But my question is the other thing, another thing that I hear a lot about from residents is fix 311. Like, they just tell me that, fix 311. So it's great to hear that the administration is thinking about an overhaul, and I want to just echo Councilman Spadola, who said work with council, because we do hear, work a lot with 311 and through 311. But I'd like to add to that, would the administration consider also engaging with residents about their experience with 311 and have that be part of the, change process? Or if you're thinking about how to change the system, would you consider also, doing some engagement with residents to figure out what the pinch points are and what could be fixed?
Sure, we can absolutely consider that. Absolutely.
Yes.
And I do encourage you, anytime you get a complaint about 311, definitely let us know and let me know specifically so that we can follow up and try and figure out what went wrong. Thank you.
I also believe that with the community engagement specialists coming to the Civic Association meetings, that's an opportunity for them to share with that individual as well as the council members. And I always encourage the council members to call 311 to see what experience that you may have as well. I've called several times, and so I just wanted to encourage you to consider doing that as well. And is that it?
Yes, that's it. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're going to go to the public at this time. Is there anyone in the public that have any questions, any budgetary questions as it relates to what has been proposed and presented on tonight? Okay, I'm going to bring it back to my council members. I'm going to go with Councilmember Hackett, Oliver, and Cabrera.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be real short, and this just came to mind when we talk about the Director of Communication and what that looks like. I'm also worried about how we get our information out to our residents. Sometimes they say, I don't know what's going on right now, but when it was election time, I mean, people were sending out text messages every day. You was getting emails. So I look at the city of Wilmington and I try to figure out, like, what is the plan for our residents to be able to get everything that's going on today? Like, when we looking at capital projects, are we creating some type of Wilmington app? Like, everything in the world is evolving and changing. And I'm just seeing, is there anything in the plans for us to do same thing, be innovative before the change, before anything happened? What are we looking at today to try to get our residents everything that they need? Because I would love for them to be getting text me like, hey, listen, the mayor's budget proposed this, so that they are aware, because we look at people that go to work every day. They get off at 5 and 6, and then they got to go right to their kids and help their kids maybe prepare dinner, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's not enough time in the day to come to a council meeting. But how do we get to council meetings, and how do we get information to them?
Yeah, absolutely. I am very happy to hear any ideas that you have, and we will see what we can work with within our budget. We have a new texting option that we are using through Public Works. I don't know if anybody's scheduled a special pickup recently, but we are now able to essentially text you beforehand, confirm your appointment for your special pickup. You can cancel through it. So it is an option that's now available to us, but it does come at a cost. And expanding it would as well. So we are absolutely open to new and creative ideas, and I think that that'll be a huge part of our evaluation process for a new director.
Thank you.
Yes. And Stephanie, do we have an email account that does like an email blast? I
Yes,
thought
we
so.
do. Yeah, absolutely. That is run by, currently being run by our Deputy Director of Communications. And yeah, it's a MailChimp account that we send out our press releases, news blasts, everything else.
Okay, so one of the ways that we can engage our residents is give them that email address, and so when things are happening.
It is a one-way, but people can definitely sign up for our news alerts.
Okay, I just wanted to share that, and because that was a great question. But in the meantime, what can we do? I think we can make sure that when we go to these community meetings and when we're, running into our residents, we can make sure that they are signed up to get the information via email right now, because that's pretty much all we have until we explore some of these other options.
Yep.
Right.
Thank you so much,
Okay,
Chair.
and Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to make two statements. One being regarding Juneteenth celebration. I'm glad to share that we are really acknowledging and putting some funding into Juneteenth, because it has been a celebration that's been underserved and forgotten for years. So I'm glad we are putting some focus on Juneteenth, because they've really been struggling, being overlooked. May I follow up?
Yes.
Lastly, I've mentioned on several occasions and called 311. I, too, am not a big fan of 311. I mentioned Sherman Street. The graffiti's been on that wall, 400 block. Stephanie Bolden even told me she's called. It's been graffiti on that wall right there, and we have new homes, so I don't see a lot of people wanting to buy them with all that graffiti on the wall. But it's 400 Sherman Street, and I'll call again. But it's been there since last year. As a matter of fact, I started to call the News Journal, but I called 311. John Ringo, I called, and they said they was going to take care of it, and they still haven't taken care of it. And I'm just wondering, this is the same thing. I'm just wondering if it's because it's in that neighborhood and not another neighborhood, because over 2 years, you had the state rep call, I've called several occasions, and it's still not done. So I just wanted to mention that on Sherman Street for the graffiti.
Understood, and I'll get an answer for you on why it hasn't been done.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Cabrera, and then we'll be wrapping up.
Yes, thank you. My question in terms of constituent services, that office, I'm a little confused because it seems that with the Baker administration, the Brzezicki administration, for some reason, the constituent service officers are not allowed to go out into the public. They don't go into neighborhoods. They don't follow up on calls. It's all phone. They're forbidden for literally being out there. And that to me is crazy, because we as council members have to show up to people's homes, check out problems. I mean, I've been in leaky kitchens. I haven't been on the roof, but almost. So I'm just saying that I'm confused about that. So I hope that that's not.
That is absolutely not the case.
Okay.
For now, we have had recent town halls. Fortunately, our constituent service team has been out, has been participating. They have.
I've seen them. Yep.
Yep, and they've been out proactively identifying graffiti. They have been out talking to residents. We definitely want our constituent services officers to be visible and to be available to our constituents. So I would consider this just a new day for constituent services.
Great. I'm glad to hear that, because that was my concern. I wanted to make sure that, at least with this administration, they can be out there in the community hands-on, and we can go with them to identify the problems and, and just kind of really work together that way. So I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, council members, for your questions. And before we close out this particular budget hearing, I want to ask one more time: is there anyone from the public that have any comments? Because this is what this hearing is for, primarily for the public to hear what's being proposed, to hear what we are presenting. So, is there anyone from the public that have a comment before we close out? On the Zoom? Okay, so I would like to thank Mr. Cade, Ms. Mergler, and all those that presented this evening, as well as OMB Deputy Director, Mr. Winkler, and any follow-up information after this particular budget hearing, we can definitely make sure that we can reach out to Ms. Bassnight, who will be happy to share any additional information with us after this hearing. So at this time, I'm going to ask that we take a 10-minute break, and we will return for Wilmington City Council's budget hearing. Thank you, everyone, for listening and attending tonight. Chief of Staff Simmons, department heads, and members of the public. I am calling this meeting to order the Finance Committee budget hearing for City Council as we are just resuming from a 10-minute break. I would first like to start by recognizing members of the Finance Committee that are in attendance this evening by doing a roll call. Council members Darby, Council member Oliver,
Present.
Council member Bracy,
Present.
Council member Hackett,
Present.
Council member Spadola, Council President Congo.
Here.
I would also like to recognize any other council persons present by doing a roll call. Council members Owens, Cabrera, Willier,
Present.
Johnson,
Here.
Field, McCoy. First, I would like to inform everyone that public comments will be asked at the end of each department's budget hearing and that we look forward for participation from the public. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. If there is any follow-up information during any of the budget hearings, Ms. Bassnight will track and follow up on those requests. The budget hearings are limited due to time constraints. I ask that if all can be mindful and respectful of time. All budget questions should be of a fiscal, budgetary matter only and will be limited based upon time limitations. I ask that if my colleagues have any questions, please raise your hand. It is intended for each department to present, then questions will be slated afterwards. Before I turn it over to Chief of Staff Elijah Simmons, I kindly remind my colleagues that this is the council's opportunity to share with the public council's budget. If any council person has budgetary requests that are not part of this budget, those requests should be shared amongst your colleagues and with any administration and with the administration to see if those could be negotiated within this budget. As we all know, everything cannot be included in a budget. A budget is built on compromise. It is not the intent of this meeting to do budget negotiations. Once all budget hearings are completed, then budget negotiations occur. At this time, I will turn it over to Chief of Staff Elijah Simmons for opening comments for City Council's budget, followed by an overview on Council's major changes by Ms. Bassnight, Ms. English, and Mr. Ralston. I would like to turn it over to Mr. Simmons at this time.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really appreciate it. Going to wait for WI10 to get the presentation up. Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Elijah Simmons, Chief of Staff for City Council. My portion of today's presentation will offer an overview of Council's mission, structure, operations, and support functions, all while giving context to how Council functions and the key areas of focus through legislative and administrative efforts. Next slide. So the mission of City Council is to provide forward-thinking leadership for the city through the passage of legislation and resolutions that are aimed at enhancing the quality of life for Wilmington residents. Council also plays a critical oversight role by monitoring government operations and working to ensure transparency and accountability. A key part of its function includes staying connected to residents, listening to community needs, and introducing policy solutions that reflect those concerns. Next slide. City Council consists of 13 elected members, including district and at-large council members, as outlined by the city charter. The primary responsibilities of the legislative body include introducing and passing ordinances, approving the city's operating budget, and providing checks and balances to the executive branch. Council members also engage in redistricting, which happens every 10 years in alignment with the U.S. Census, respond to constituent concerns, and participate in broader governance processes that shape how the city functions. Next slide. So the legislative work of council is organized across 7 standing committees, each of which is focused on specific issue areas from finance and public safety to community development and health. These committees are chaired by council members and serve as the forum for legislative review, public comment, and oversight of city departments. Here's just a little generalized breakdown of the different committees and the council members who chair each of them. Next slide. In terms of operations, council is supported by several internal divisions that provide administrative, legislative, research, and communication support. The Legislative Financial Admin Support Division handles key responsibilities such as scholarship and grant administration, budget tracking, and legislative agenda preparation. The clerk's office ensures that council's records are properly maintained and that meetings are compliant with legal standards. WITN Channel 22 is City Council's government access channel. WITN supports council by broadcasting council and committee meetings, budget hearings, and community programming to keep residents informed and engaged. The Communications Division manages council's media presence, public event coordination, and community outreach efforts. The Research and Policy Division provides nonpartisan policy research, supports council's strategic planning, and oversees initiatives like the Police Accountability Review Board. Additionally, the Office of Educational Advocacy, a new addition to council, will work to advance youth-focused initiatives and support education policy development in Wilmington. Turn it over to Ms. Bashnight.
Thank you.
City Council has two funds, the general fund and the CBT fund. So the total of both of these funds for fiscal year 26 proposed budget totals $4,231,972, an increase of $418,106, 11% increase. Next slide, please. If we just focus on the general fund totals $3,194,912, an increase of $531,595, a 20% increase. Out of the $531,595,000, personal services increased $416,679,000. Material, supplies, and equipment increased $113,800. Next slide, please. One of the primary categories that I just mentioned is number one, that our general fund totals $3.1 million. It went up $531,000. Out of that $531,000, $416,000 is people costs that increase. So what made up that increase is there were two mid-year positions added to the fiscal year 25 budget, the Director of Education Advocacy, as well as the Legislative Aid Financial Controller, which added roughly $244,000 to the budget, inclusive of salary and benefits. In addition, we made a funding change for the Legislative Administrative Assistant position. That position was changed from 50% CBT fund to 100% general fund, which added an additional $46,000 to the budget so that the position is in line with the services that it provides to that particular fund. In addition, for the Office of Education Advocacy, $20,000 was added for admin support. Also, the new council salaries was effective for the 109th session based upon a compensation study that is now effective that also added additional costs to the budget, as well as the growth with council staff for performance and COLAs. Also, additional funds was added for an internship program. Next slide, please. Thank you. When it comes to our MS&E, it was mentioned that totals $1,040,684, up $113,800. Out of that cost, $541,988 totals community activities. And you're probably saying, well, what is community activities that makes up that $541,988? Council scholarship funds at a minimum is $4,000 per council person, which equates to $52,000. Council discretionary funds, which is part of the community support, that's $29,076 per council person, so that's $377,988. We also have a category for community paid activities, which is an account line that we use for festival and parades. That's budgeted at $10,000, so we use that for the Hispanic Festival, August Quarterly, those types of festivals. In addition, there's funds allocated for community services. This is for ads, sponsorships, tickets for different events, as well as community support. That totals $47,000. In the miscellaneous project account line, that's a category that we use for large grants. Within that category, we have funds for the Christina Cultural Arts Center for $20,000. For HBCU Foundation, we have $10,000. And we added funds for the Rashima Dixon Foundation for Play Streets for a sponsorship of $10,000. And we also have support for WCC for $15,000, which is our annual commitment for the Wilmington Early Childhood Education Council. So those are the large projects. So in total, that number had went up $15,000, and that increase was due to, as I just mentioned, regarding the Rashima Dixon Foundation, as well as we increased costs for $5,000 for tickets and sponsorships based upon usage. Next slide, please. Consultants. So consultants within City Council total $354,000, up $64,000. So let's see what's make up these consultant categories. We have a project manager for $20,000. The project manager will be used to assist for various task forces or committees, subcommittees. For outside consultant expertise, for contingency, that's roughly $30,000. For the annual Black Restaurant Week, $50,000. The Mayor Baker Agreement, $15,000. For the AI translation software for Spanish, $15,000. For the policy fellows, to have 2 policy fellows, $64,000. For outside attorney fees, outside attorney expertise, we have $75,000 budgeted. For the Office of Educational Advocacy, for technical assistance and other expertise, we have allocated $60,000. For advocate lobbyists, we have $25,000 budgeted. So as of right now, consultants increased $64,000, and the increase of the $64,000 is the Office of Education Advocacy, as well as increase in the cost for the policy fellows by $4,000. Continued costs that is in City Council's budget is for professional development for both council members as well as staff. That totals $55,000, up roughly $8,500. That's for conferences, travels, and professional development. We have continued costs budgeted for printing and advertising for $22,000, up slightly $3,500. When we have public hearings, we have to do notices for our Muni Code to have supplements. So there's a cost that comes with that, and that's for the entire city. Food for our council meetings, our budget meetings, and special meetings, we have a total of $9,000 in our budget. Also, we added additional funds, approximately $20,000, so we can have parking for council for inside the garage. Next slide, please.
Okay, my name is Ajay English, and I'm going to speak to the CVT fund budget and major changes. So for the total budget for FY2026, it decreased 10%, which totaled $113,489. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. For major funding changes, WITM budget totaled $1,037,060, which is down, again, that same 10%, which is $113,489. For personal services, it totaled $847K, which was people costs, which is up $111K, due to a one mid-year position that is 25% CVT funded, which is the legislative aid and financial controller position, which added $29K to the budget for salary and benefits. We changed legislative admin assistant from 50% CVT to 100% general fund, which was a decrease of $46K. Temps increased by $15K for freelancers, which changed from $25K to $40K, and there was growth within WITN staff performance and COLAs. Next slide. Okay. MS&E totaled $167K, which is down $224K. 15K, which was for legal expertise, which is down 60K, which changed from 75K to 15K. 23K for subscription services, KillerTracks, Adobe, Zoom, Comcast, MailChimp, which is down 20K. We also removed Watch It for software costs. 15K was for Laro contract, repairs to equipment, tightrope cable system. 24K for equipment needs. 11K for parking for the WITN team. 16K for professional development for staff. 42K for major equipment needs contingency, and was down 108K. And we eliminated video streaming contract with Swagit, and that is down 18K. At this point, I'm going to pass it off to Wendell.
Good evening, council members. My name is Wendell Ralston, station manager of WITN. WITN is the government access channel for the city of Wilmington. We disseminate content and information on behalf of the city of Wilmington government, whether it's the airing of city council meetings, such as we are here today, or disseminating content on behalf of the various departments within city government. In addition to that, we do highlight community events and activities across the city as well. We are governed by mandates within the code, as well as the FCC regulations as far as the operations of government channels. As part of the financial agreement between Comcast and the city of Wilmington, the service provider has provided access channels for use for the city of Wilmington. And these channels are referred to as PEG channels, with the P representing the public access channel, which is currently operated by our third-party operator, which is DTV. In addition to that, they do provide also lease access. The E, which is education, that is run on behalf of, or not behalf, but it's run by the Red Clay School District, in which they operate EdTV. And WITN represents the G in the PEG. Again, we're the government access channel. Next slide, please. So I just want to go over our staff. We currently have 5 full-time staff members, and I'm just going to go over some of the duties in which each position operates under. So as far as my position of station manager, I oversee the day-to-day activities or operations of WITN. That includes the delegation of staff assignments. As part of my expertise, I do handle the engineering and maintenance of our broadcast, our control room, and our production equipment. As needed, I will assist in the production of content, as well as our control room operations, in which our control room operates we use our control room for the production of in-studio shows as well as the meetings. In addition to my duties with WITN, as per the code, I do oversee the entire PEG, and I do handle PEG and TPO related tasks and oversight as needed. Under me, I have our production coordinator. Our production coordinator currently oversees all control room operations and meeting production. And just to emphasize that during these council meetings, it is a production for us. We go through the whole entire production process with pre-production, with making sure we have all our graphics needed for the production, setting up the Zooms, making sure that Zoom invites go out to all parties, as well as setting up the public comment sign-up list, and also making sure that we do have all presentations needed for display and sharing both via Zoom and for TV. In addition to those duties, our production coordinator does handle the scheduling of our freelancer pool, which I'll touch on later. And our production coordinator also assists in the engineering and maintenance of our equipment as well. And as needed, our production coordinator also is out in the field and handles post-production as needed. In addition to the production coordinator, we have our senior producer. Our senior producer handles production of our content, whether it's out in the field covering events or in studio. And again, that entails the actual filming, the editing, the creation of graphics, as well as any pre-production prep work that needed, whether it's research or following up with interviewees. And as needed, the senior producer does assist in control room operations. I also want to touch on another duty that our senior producer handles, which is our programming schedule for TV. The programming schedule is the TV channel. If there's no program schedule, it's just a black screen. So it's very important that we make sure that our program schedule is loaded into the system, as well as updated on a regular basis with replays of meetings, or as well as our programming content, which I'll touch on in a bit. Our digital media and web content coordinator handles our social media accounts as well as the website. In addition, our digital media and web content coordinator also handles field production for both digital and TV. And as needed, will assist in the studio productions as well, and control room operations. And as of right now, this particular staff person is a licensed drone pilot. It is our only licensed drone pilot. So all the amazing aerial footage that we do gather is because of our drone operator that's on staff, which is this position. And finally, our last full-time employee, I just want to talk about the producer position. That position handles, again, the production of content, both out in the field, covering events, and in studio. This position also will assist in control room operations. And in addition to those duties, the producer also handles the archiving of all meetings for video on demand, which also populates our website. So in addition to our full-time staff, we do have a pool of freelancers that we utilize that supplement the duties and needs for production and control room for WITN. And I do want to emphasize that the members of this pool are used when needed. And any costs, it only occurs when they are out in the field on production. Next slide, please. So to talk about the programming that we do currently handle, First and foremost, again, we broadcast the city council meetings as well as the committee meetings, and as we are here tonight, budget hearings. Again, I want to emphasize that this is a production for us because we go through all three phases of the production process. In addition to those, to the broadcast of the meetings, we also have platforms in which council members can utilize. One being 2-minute drills, which is an opportunity for council members to directly address constituents about issues that are important to them, as well as sharing events that are happening in the city. Likewise, the president also has a platform similar to 2-minute drill, which is the president's monthly addresses, which the president will speak to the constituency on a monthly basis to update them on issues concerning council as well as the happenings around the city. And a third platform that is utilized by council members is our Inside the District. This is a program where council members can highlight individuals, organizations, and businesses in their districts, and for that largest, the city at large, that are doing great things in the community. And this particular program, the council members will sit down with representatives of those organizations to discuss what they bring to the city. So as far as our community programming, we go out in the field and cover events and happenings around the city under our 22 News platform. We will do small news packages in addition to also covering long form events such as press conferences and ceremonies. And that's under our 22 on the scene. And we actually do on occasion stream those live on our platforms as well as television. And another platform that we use for community highlights is our Sights and Sounds. That is used to capture events such as parades, festivals, where we're just trying to capture the day that is going on for those events, to just highlight the great things that our city that are happening in our city. And I do want to touch on, we also do public service announcements on behalf of the city, as well as we do have some special programming. Examples of that is we just recently started rolling out the council introduction videos, as well as we did a two-part series featuring women in government for the month of March. And in addition to the WITM programming, we do have a service contract with Newcastle County to facilitate their council meetings to stream to their website. And that current contract brings in $34,500, and that's one way that we are trying to bring in revenue as much as we can. And that actually brings me to the next slide, please. As far as sources of funding for our operations, again, we do rely on the funds from the CBT as part of the franchise agreement with Comcast. In addition to those funds, there are PEG channel grants that are a help as well. Again, service contracts like we have with Newcastle County. I'm hoping to try to bring in more service contracts to help supplement our funding. And then we are looking into the possibility of doing studio rentals as a way to bring in revenue as well. We still have to run things by law, by the law department, but just want to say that we are looking into that. What we can't necessarily do for funding is we can't we can't take in any revenue via advertising or any paid programming, just by the nature of being a government access channel. So that does limit our avenues as far as funding is concerned. And am I taking this to
Yeah, next slide,
and it's
please.
off?
Oh. Yes. Okay, so this slide here talks about our Comcast franchise fees that we receive over the fiscal year since fiscal year 2017 through fiscal year 2026. So the blue shade, means actual, and the maroon is more so based upon projections. But as you can see, from fiscal year 2017 all the way to what's proposed for fiscal year 2026, our revenues, franchise fees that we getting in from Comcast has cut down in half. And one of the things, that has changed over the years with this is that in fiscal year 2019, we did bring on the TPO, and with some decisions that were made by our CVT commissioners, it was decided that the city is responsible for paying the entire lease as well as any type of utilities, which means we have to go into, to use our funds to pay the full cost, with the exception of whatever grant that Comcast provides to us. So I just think it was just important just to see the amount of franchise fees that had came in from fiscal year 2017 to what's projected for fiscal year 2026. It's like the numbers just actually it's half. That's a big difference. If we can go to the next slide, please. So here in this chart, if we look at 2016, the number of basic Comcast cable users in the city of Wilmington in 2016 was 18,521. If you go to 2024, 8,435. So as of the second week in December of 2024, the number of basic Comcast Wilmington cable users, 8,435. That's just amazing how that number dropped from 18,521 in 2016. So that's the reason we're taking a big hit when it comes to our franchise revenues. I just want people to see it's subscribers that makes this difference. So if people are not subscribing to Comcast cable, because now people are using other services, Hulu, Amazon, so different type of streaming devices. So if that's cheaper and, so people's not going to subscribe to cable, so that hurts our bottom line. So one of the things I just want to point out with this chart as well is in the previous slide, when Ms. English had spoken, WITN's fiscal year 26 proposed budget is $1,037,060. The amount of revenues from Comcast that's projected is $693,893. So the amount of revenues that we're going to be getting in and the amount of expenditures, so there's a gap. In addition, we will be receiving a Comcast Community Support Grant, right? That's anticipated at the minimum $90,000. But out of that $90,000, if a decision was made by the CVT Commission, a recommendation was made by the CVT Commission to provide $25,000 for a one-time grant to the TPO. So that would take that $90,000 down to $65,000 to be able to help, with this cost. And as the station manager just mentioned, we also get grant funds in for Newcastle County to pay for the service that WITN does to cover Newcastle County council meetings and committee meetings, so that's $34,000. So really, by the time we look at all these numbers, there's a funding gap of $244,000. So anytime we're making any adjustments to, for our TPO or anything outside of this budget, it increases this funding gap, which means, we have to go into our savings. As of right now, our savings is $2.1 million as of June 30th of 2024. If we keep our expenditures the same as we're currently doing now, in 5.5 years, we're going to be out of funds. So one of the things we're looking at is the solvency of the CVT fund, meaning how can we do things differently? One of the things that was mentioned was the franchise agreement. We just negotiated a franchise agreement that this council, that the 108th session of council approved off on in November of 2024. So I just want to mention that because it's very, it's very important. So we have a CVT commission, but we also have the body of council. So when it comes to the budget and when it comes to funds and when it comes to looking at the solvency, just want to make sure that everyone, is aware and abreast to see where these numbers are actually coming from, what our actual subscribers are. I think in the meeting was mentioned that there was 55,000 subscribers. In Wilmington, we're at 8,435 subscribers. So come by the end of calendar year 2025, we're going to be roughly at 7,200. So if we get at 7,200 subscribers, our revenues is even going to be lower. So one of the things that we're challenged with is how can we do things differently. But we just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention so that the council as well as the public is abreast that we are looking at this and looking to see how we can do things differently.
Okay. So, let's see here.
Can we go back to that slide, please?
Are we going to this particular slide? So, our funding gap, 244.
Yeah, so yes, Chairwoman Harley. So the funding gap, is 244,000. And the reason the funding gap is 244,000, actually should be a negative 244,000, is because the amount of revenues that we get from Comcast, as well as any community support grants that we get, is not enough funds to cover the costs when it comes to both our PEG, for our entire PEG.
Okay, so that's why this chart correlates with these pillars from 2017 to 2026.
Yes, Chairwoman Harley, and the reason it correlates is because from 2016 all the way to 2024, we're going from 18,521 subscribers all the way down to 8,435. That's a huge, decrease. It's not nothing because of what WITN is doing or anyone is doing.
Pardon me? Hold on. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So, I'm just saying, that's the number of, actual subscribers here in Wilmington, because people using different technology. They're not using cable. So these are actual numbers. I just wanted to mention that.
So we're in the red here?
Yes, we are in the red for fiscal year 2026. When we're doing our operating budget ordinance, we have to go into our savings account to balance the budget. So as part of the fiscal year 26 budget ordinance, you will see that when the budget office put it together, that we go into our savings account to cover the gap.
Okay, thank you. So I see that we're at the end of our hearings, and there really was no questions to be asked because this is our budget, obviously. We already know. Did you want to go over these positions?
Yes, I was going to go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so basically for the next slide, the station manager had touched upon it, but just wanted to say the total number of full-time positions in WITN is 6. And actually, one of those positions is defunded, so really they're working with 5 positions. For council staff, we have 10 positions, 10 full-time positions, and for elected officials is 13. Vacancies, we have a producer position that's been vacant since November 18th of 2021. That's the same position that I just mentioned that has been defunded. In addition, we have the Director of Education Advocacy vacant position, which has been vacant since January the 8th, and we do anticipate filling that perhaps by the first week in May. Next slide, please.
Okay, so I'll just end off with these last 2 slides. So this is just an organization chart of council staff, as you see here for the public. Just give them a minute to take a look at it. And then you can go on to the last slide. We have just a little bit of contact information just of city council, nice photos of all the council members, as well as a QR code for individuals to scan if they want to sign up for any updates and to be added to our email list. So, thank you.
Okay, all right, so that concludes our presentation, correct? Okay, all right, so at this time, I'm going to put it out to our council members. Do you have any questions? Councilmember Oliver, and following her, Councilmember Hackett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a question for Ms. Bass Knight. I'm going to the internship program. How much additional funding is added for this intern program, could you?
$15,000.
And how many additional individuals would that cover?
It's going to cover a total of 5 interns.
May I follow up?
Yes.
Ms. Bass Knight, could you tell me how many interns we've always had in the past and the number of them, just for my purpose, seeing what's going on here?
Well, this is the first time like we have like interns. I mean, other than like interns that we get through like the Parks and Recreation Division from like years back. So we have had part-time positions. So really, interns are technically a part-time position. But if you're looking at it from the word of like intern, so in the past we did interns with Parks and Rec like through their program. How they had an internship program like with high schools and with high school students, and they would place them in different divisions or departments through the city. But although these are interns, but they also technically part-time employees.
May I follow up?
Yes.
I think I was thinking of how we would normally have the 2. We would always have like 2. And is that
I'm sorry.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, so those are what we call our policy fellows.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, so those are our policy fellows.
Okay. I mean, so just follow the same question,
Okay.
just follow. So could you explain how it was always 2, et cetera? I mean, what was the 2? They worked during the summer, or how did that work?
Okay, so for the policy fellows, it's always been part of a contract with whatever college that we use. Fortunately, I mean, we have been using the University of Delaware. Not that it always have to be University of Delaware. We did try to use Delaware State at one time. And with those contracts agreements, it provide for either 2 or 1 policy fellow. And typically with that grant agreement, contract agreement, it would start in September, and it would go through May. They get a break in the wintertime, and then they off on like holidays. And also with that particular program with the fellows, it also provides additional like stipend to help pay for their college education. So it's an agreement between the city and the school, but the portion that we pay is relatively small, whereas the university covers more than 75% of that cost.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hackett?
You can come back to me because I wasn't done, so you can come back.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to speak. Truly appreciate that. Just when we talk about our PEG right now, we know that we're pretty much in the red with WITN, and I think we made some immediate action when you talk about our TPO to kind of figure out a way that we possibly could cut that red in down a little bit some. But have we figured out any other avenues or any other plan so that we can get out of the red? Because, at the end of the day, when we look at Comcast and we look at our subscribers, that number doesn't look like it's going to change. Because at the end of the day, once again, the world is evolving. People are finding ways to get internet and then go ahead and stream on different apps. So for them to go back to just television, that might be more expensive. It doesn't look like that might be happening. So I'm thinking, are we going to stay in the red for the next 5 years and just complete our CVT fund, or have we thought about a plan here?
Chair.
Sure, Ms. Bassnight.
Yeah, Chair, if I can just partially respond before I turn it over to Mr. Simmons, is one of the things when Ms. English had just spoken on the CVT budget, for WITN, so their budget did go down $113,489, and out of their $1,037,000 budget, $223,934 was reduced from the material, supplies, and equipment account line. So, that's a huge chunk from their budget, so we're looking at tough decisions. In addition, the producer position that's been vacant since November 18th of 2021, that's continued to be defunded. One of the things that WITN has not had the ability to do is to do like a live production show, because they need more positions to be able to do that. So we used to have like a live show. We used to have a on-air host person, but we no longer have the ability to do that. And to answer your question is, yes, we are looking at how things can be done differently with WITN as well as the TPO. We won't be able to resolve that with this fiscal year 2026 budget, but there is going to be some suggestions on how we can do things differently. And then I'm going to just pass over to Mr. Simmons, and he can elaborate a little bit more.
Madam Chair, thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Councilmember Hackett, just really quick, just wanted to say that over the past few months since January, we have had discussions in the CVT Commission meeting related to the TPO, and we do look forward to moving forward, having discussions of ways that we can, again, like you said, get out of the red, find a way to compromise for what it is we're facing right now from the funding perspective. So Marshall hit it right on the ball. So ditto.
Do we have any council members on Zoom? Councilmember
Yes,
Oliver?
Madam Chair.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Councilmember McCoy. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much for bringing this information to our attention. We did get a chance to look over that. We've had many conversations about the budget. Yes, we definitely seen where some increases were. And, I do applaud some of the risks that are being taken when it comes to how we want to move the city forward, when it comes to trying to identify ways to work with the youth here within the city, especially when it comes to education. I would like to state when it comes to what's happening with our with our station, the TPO, the education, and also the government portion. I actually really, I think that everybody is doing a great job. Unfortunately, as Ms. Bass Knight pointed out, we don't have the we just don't have the funds. We don't have the streamers like we used to. And the fact is that no matter any way they cut it, there was no way to actually make more money off of this because we cannot include Wi-Fi as part of the contract. And that seems like what everyone is doing when it comes to Comcast. They just have the strong Wi-Fi. So with that being stated, I really do encourage the plan for WITN to try to look at other avenues to find ways to, I'm glad and I applaud them for reaching out to Newcastle County to making certain that they had those funds. If there's anything that we can do to try to, bring more information to or bring more eyes to WITN when it comes to the use of the I guess you're trying to rent out the studio or something like that. I'm not exactly certain what that looks like, but I think that if you actually put together a true plan and it's something that we can get behind, we would definitely like to be able to help you because at the end of the day, it's not about really advertisement. All of this is basically about sharing information to the residents of the city of Wilmington. So the government, the education, and also I guess the TPO that was supposed to be all about least access and making certain that all the people, the residents of the city of Wilmington who wanted to be able to have their voices be heard and pay for a slot on the TPO, everyone got a chance to have their voice heard. So we just want to make certain that WITN is here for as our portion of things, as our government channel, and making certain that the two things that mean the most, which is the council meetings and the community meetings, continue on. So we will put our heads together and figure out a plan to make certain that you will be able to continue until we get a chance to renegotiate again with Comcast or whatever that looks like. That was my only comment.
Thank you. Ms. Bassnight, as it relates to the franchise, so based on what I'm looking at here, the reason why the funds are going down is because of people not using cable and going over to streaming?
Yes, that's correct. It's cheaper.
Okay.
Significantly cheaper.
Okay. So as it relates to our contract, how are we able to get funds for streaming? Like, so if subscribers move from cable to streaming, or how can we get those funds from cable to streaming?
If I can, Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So basically, that's the question that all municipalities are faced with. So when it comes to cabling, it's actually the cabling through the wires, and Wi-Fi is not considered, like a cable service. So, when we do our franchise agreement, that's something that cannot be negotiated in. Only items that can be negotiated in is items that's linked with cable. So we're not the only municipalities. That's the question that everybody wants to see corrected going out, particularly when it comes to franchising. So it's more of a FCC item that would need to be changed, but this is just Marshall just speaking, not for officially. I mean, I don't know whether that will ever be changed. So that's what we're dealing with, and it's a big item. And Chair, I also just want to correct one thing that I did state. I had mentioned about 5 interns. Actually, it's 4 interns. I just want to make sure I corrected myself.
All right, thank you. Well, how do we stop the bleeding?
So,
based on this chart?
Yeah, Chair, that's a good question. One of the ways that we're trying to stop some of the bleeding in this budget is we cut some of the costs out of WITN's budget and their MSC, roughly $220,000. We still continue to defund one of the vacant positions. We're trying to do things differently with the TPO. For example, we're no longer doing paying the lease agreement. That'd be something if whoever a TPO is, they will have to do their own lease, meaning we typically pay the entire lease, and then the TPO was subleased from the city. So we're taking away that cost. But even when we have those grant funds to help, it still doesn't stop the bleeding all the way. So there's still a funding gap to the tune of $244,000. So since we can't resolve this all within this budget, we're trying to take a year to figure out how can we resolve this, and that's something that we're working on.
Okay. So we definitely have a fiduciary responsibility to address this in terms of WITN overall, right? I mean, like, I didn't realize that it was this bad, really.
Chair, if I can respond?
Yes.
And last year, we had to go into our savings, like as well. And not only, I just don't only say because of WITN. I mean, we also have our TPO as well. We're paying for costs. Things was just done differently prior to 2019. So it's two items that we're dealing with that we need to figure out how can we do things differently.
Okay. All right. All right. That's all I have. Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two things, and I'm done. One elephant in the room that I was very disappointed about, and the $15,000 for the interns that council knew nothing about. I want to bring that up. Hopefully that never happens again, because we are a body, and no one individual should be taking it upon themselves to use that type of money without going through the finance chair, or at least the president, us knowing about it, period, because this is a body. City council is a body. No one person should be making them type of decisions. That's been bothering me for the longest. That's one. The other thing is that I put in the ordinance, and I see the mayor had their pictures, and I'm wondering why we don't have our pictures. It's an ordinance that we all, put through. Let me just finish. No, it's pictures of us. It's no pictures of the staff. And the only reason why we put that in, because new council members came in, and when they was calling various departments, they didn't know who to speak to. So, and other municipalities had people's pictures. So that's why I put in that ordinance. And now I'm looking on ours, and we put in the ordinance, we just have a list of names, and we don't even have a picture. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Unless there's some pictures in here I don't see.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any council members on the line that have?
Kobe.
Councilmember Hackett, hold on.
I was helping.
That's okay. This is not how that works.
So you asked the question?
That's our job. That's Miss English job.
Councilmember Owens.
He needs to be recognized, too.
Councilmember Owens, I would like to acknowledge, first of all, that Councilmember Owens is present, and if you have a comment, Councilmember, please share at this time. Is there any other council members that have any comments? I'll come back. I'm going to go out to the public now. Do we have any comments from the public? Anyone on the Zoom? Any members from the public on the Zoom? So I'm going to loop it back around to council members. I want to acknowledge Councilmember Cabrera and Councilmember McCoy being in this meeting for the record. Any, Ms. Bass Knight?
Yes, and I just wanted to say for the record, when we was putting together the PowerPoint presentation, it wasn't intentional to exclude council staff. Actually, today we actually added the council persons. We thought that would be more meaningful with the elected body, for the elected body to see their faces versus staff we actually just did that like today. So I just wanted just to say that.
Well,
We just,
thank
but we'll get it corrected and we'll get it updated so the public can see. That was the intention. We wanted to share y'all faces. That's all that was about. Sorry.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to just make one last statement.
Sure,
please.
Councilmember
What a
Oliver.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, people in the public see us all the time, but when people call and people, as some new council members, they want to look at and see how the chart goes. I understand that, but I still want to stand by my ordinance, and hopefully we can get our pictures on here so we can see who is, the chart. Thank you so much.
All right. So, Councilmember Owens, do you have something to say? Okay.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to talk about the PEG real quick. There was a question about the funding aspect of it.
Yes.
As we are looking to resolve this shortfall that we have when it comes to our government side of things, I know we signed a 5-year lease agreement, franchise agreement with Comcast. Is there opportunity for us to bring them back to the table to negotiate them increasing their community funds like they have been doing with municipalities in other areas? We did not increase ours whatsoever. And Comcast has been giving additional money in regards to community funds because they know there's less individuals who are getting basic cable and going towards the streaming, but they still want to help fund pegs across the nation. So I think that would potentially be an opportunity. We see in a lot of other cities, they've increased their community giving by almost 6 times, which would get us out of this financial shortfall and be able to put more additional dollars in our reserves.
Ms. Bass-Knight?
Councilman Owens, I think like we talked a little bit about this, and I thought there was supposed to be like a meeting set up with our outside attorney so that it could be shared what was some of the items that was discussed as we was doing our negotiations. So absolutely, when we did our negotiations, of course, we discussed about the community support grant portion. So with that, over 5 years, it's going to be a total of $450,000. They started out at 85 cents per subscriber, and we got that to go up all the way to 95 cents per subscriber with a minimum guarantee of not less than $90,000. But there are some other items that were negotiated as well to be able to get there, so it was a compromise. And I just want to be clear, is the 5-year agreement that we did, it's not a new agreement, it's actually a 5-year extension. So, so it's not like a new agreement, it's extending out. So I'm not sure if the meeting had ever taken place, but that is something that, we can discuss offline to get that scheduled if it hasn't been done already.
Okay.
Madam Chair, might be excused.
Yes, Councilwoman Oliver can be excused. Before we close out, is there any other council members that have anything else to say? Okay, if not, I would like to thank our Chief of Staff, Elijah Simmons, Ms. Bass-Knight, Ms. English, and Mr. Ralston for presenting this evening. Any follow-up information, I'm going to ask that you provide it to Ms. Bass-Knight. We want to thank OMB, Mr. Greco, and team, department heads, WITN, council staff, and members of the public. And just for your information, the next budget hearing is going to be scheduled for Monday, April the 7th at 4:30 p.m. And that particular budget hearing is going to be on revenue projections, the finance department, and we're asking that you please tune in to WITN, channel 22, to watch the meeting. You can also watch it online.
Councilman Oliver, can you wait 1 minute so we can have a quorum? I'm sorry, Chair. I'm just.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And so you can watch it online at www.witn22.org. Also, budget information is available at www.wilmingtondebudget.org. And can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, and good night, everyone.